Greetings, greetings. Welcome to Kind Y007. I'm back at it again today for a second time. There's exciting news going on with the undocking of the stuck astronauts. I'm going to jump right into it. We have some live footage that I'm going to jump right into right now. For those that don't know, there are two astronauts that have been stuck in space. They're not wording it that way, but according to what we know and just research, they're stuck. So they just announced that they will not be returning to Earth until February 2025. So right now I'm going to show some footage live. First, we're going to do listen in on what they're saying, and then we have actual live footage um, from space. Okay, and we're going to get to that right now.
Undocking. And the team here in Starliner Mission Control is being led by Flight Director Chloe Maring. Today's undocking will set Starliner on its path home for landing at White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico, targeting approximately 11 p.m. Central, Friday, September 6th, midnight Eastern on Saturday.
NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams flew to the International Space Station in June as part of NASA's Boeing crew flight test, lifting off atop a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket from Space Launch Complex 41 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida on June 5th. The Starliner spacecraft docked to the International Space Station on June 6th. During the June 6th rendezvous, NASA and Boeing identified helium leaks and experienced issues with the Spacecraft Reaction Control System, or RCS thrusters, as Starliner approached the station. Since then, engineering teams have completed a significant amount of work, including reviewing a collection of data, conducting flight and ground testing, hosting independent reviews with agency propulsion experts, and developing various return contingency plans. The uncertainty and lack of expert concurrence did not meet the agency's safety and performance requirements for human spaceflight, thus prompting the NASA decision to return Boeing's Starliner spacecraft to Earth without astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams aboard. The uncrewed return allows NASA and Boeing to continue gathering testing data on Starliner during its upcoming flight home, while also not accepting more risk than is necessary for its crew. Wilmore and Williams will continue their work formally as part of the Expedition 71 and 72 crew through February of 2025. They will then fly home aboard a Dragon spacecraft with two other crew members assigned to the agency's SpaceX Crew 9 mission, NASA astronaut Nick Hague and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. As part of NASA's Commercial Crew Program, this is Boeing's second flight to the International Space Station and third Starliner flight test overall, following a second orbital flight test in May of 2022. Yesterday, the hatches were closed between Starliner and the International Space Station. There are three hatches that separate the inside of Starliner from the orbiting laboratory: the Starliner hatch and the APAS hatch and No 2 forward hatch on the station side. Following hatch closure, teams worked through steps to depressurize the vestibule, which is the area between the station hatch and Starliner hatch that were exposed to the vacuum of space prior to docking. Shortly after the go no go poll earlier today, where the joint teams here in the Starliner Mission Control and the International Space Station Mission Control polled go for undocking, NASA astronaut Sunny Williams called down to the flight control team on Space to Ground to share some words with the team before Starliner's departure later today. We'll go ahead and replay that exchange for you now.
Station Houston, Space to Ground 2 for Starliner undock status.
Go ahead, we're with you.
Hey, Sunny, both the Starliner and ISS flight control teams have pulled go for undock at this time. The expected undock time is 22:04.
Okay, copy, 22:04. Hey, we're just looking at the flight control roster, and wow, it is the all-star team. You guys, it is the time to bring Calypso home. You have got this. We have your backs, and you've got this. Bring her back to Earth. Good luck.
Sunny and Butch, this is Chloe. Just on behalf of the entire MO team, I know the other flight control teams around the building, we thank you for your endless support over the years. We've enjoyed every training event and every meeting. We remember every setback and every revelation with you. The teams on the ground have worked countless hours over the last few weeks, months, and for a group of us, years to bring Calypso back, and we're ready to do that today. We wish you the best of luck in your increment, and Sunny, I will make sure the right people have your coming home song ready to play on Space to Ground when it's time for you guys to come home. Good luck and thank you.
Wonderful comments, Flight. We appreciate that, and we agree. Many years of great enjoyment, simming together, playing together, and being involved with each other's lives, and it's been special. Bring it home.
Cappy, thank you and have a good evening.
We are now just over 13 minutes away from today's planned undocking. As we continue to approach that undocking, you can see the team here and the Starliner mission control team working in tandem with the ISS flight control room across the hallway.
Just before we came on the air here, the teams opened up the helium manifold to check Starliner's leak rate. Everything looks good. The teams say the rate remains steady, and we have plenty of margin for the rest of the flight. So let's talk a little bit about what is coming up. At around 5:02 p.m. Central, 6:02 Eastern, we are going to be listening for the authority to proceed for undocking. After the ATP, or authority to proceed, is issued for undocking, the hooks on the NASA docking system will begin to open. There are 12 hooks that seal the surfaces between the docking system and the ISS International Docking Adapter, or the IDA. Once all of those hooks are open, springs on Starliner's docking ring will push the spacecraft away from the space station. So again, we're expecting that undocking at 5:04 p.m. Central, 6:04 Eastern. And then just a few seconds later, at about 5 meters out, our first separation.
So, greetings again. This is a big deal. This whole situation is extreme. What's going on is, again, there are two of the U.S. astronauts, American astronauts stuck in space. They are going to be out there until February, and that's the latest we know. So we're just being hanging on a string now. Makes you think of loose ends. I was listening to them recently too. So there's a lot going on. So this is the best thing they thought to do. They're not able to send these astronauts back on the spacecraft that they went to space with. So what they're doing is, let me play Into Space. I guess. Okay. So that's what's going on right now. And they are undoxing. I'm going to get right back into that in live time. The undoxing is the undoxing of the Boeing spacecraft that they were on, but ended up being faulty. So they had to get in a different spacecraft. They had a choice of two. So they got one, and they're going to stay out there in space. But interesting that they're going to send that Boeing spacecraft back to Earth without the astronauts that were once on it. So we're going to get into some of that right now. All right, and here we go. So for those that are new, I do astronomy too. I do things that have to do with astronomy and astrology, and I call it Astros. So this is live footage of one of the spacecrafts that's out there. They are going to basically send the Boeing spacecraft back to Earth where it came from, but without the astronauts in it. The astronauts are going to remain in space for another at least 6 months, so we'll see. This is strange, and I think they don't want to scare people or admit that this is a very risky mission and it already failed. So I had to pop back on and do this update. This is big. All right, so this is where they're meeting, the meeting quarters of NASA, the International Space Station, and they are discussing what moves to make. There were two other spacecrafts that could help rescue these two astronauts that are stuck in space. One was another Boeing attachment, the other was a totally different um, company brand of aircraft. Their spacesuits that they have now will not fit in the other company's spacecraft, but that's the spacecraft they've chosen. So they're going to have to change suits to be able to at least try to get into the other spacecraft. The only other option would be to join an additional Boeing company spacecraft, but there was some faultiness with the first one, so it's taking an extra risk. As I've mentioned in previous live streams, Boeing has been failing humans for decades with cover ups and whatnot. Remember 787? Boeing. Doors flying open while you're on a plane? Boeing. Windows opening because of Boeing. They are not inspecting spacecraft nor aircraft the way they should for human transportation. That's the real reason these two astronauts remain stuck in space. They are stuck. You see that they're bringing back the spacecraft that failed them, but not them. I'm going to get into some more footage and let you hear what they're saying right from the floor of the NASA of the NASA station. I'm going to show that right now. Thanks for joining. Please hit the likes up, thumbs up, whatever. If you interested in subscribing, do that. I have all kinds of stuff here. Okay. I'm excited. I didn't mean to say stuff, but things to do with space, energy, spirituality, and the community. These, if you don't know already, are the two astronauts that have been in space since June. They were supposed to come back to Earth at some point early July. They haven't been able to come back since. They remain in space. This is very important. And it was a risky mission. It's always risky going to space, but this shouldn't have happened. While they were going to space, helium leaks occurred in their Boeing spacecraft. And also some other faulty things happened, which is the same issue we've had here on Earth with Boeing equipment over the years. They're not inspecting things the way they should, let alone in the friendly skies. What about our astronauts that are way out in space? Feel free to chat. This is an open chat room. Whether you catch the live stream right now or you come back for the replay, feel free to leave comments. They're welcome here. I will watch the chat too as well to make sure, everybody is good. Okay. So don't worry about certain people. They get timed out if necessary, all that. We elevate in minds here. That's about it. All right.
Yesterday, the hatches were closed between Starliner and the International Space Station. There are 3 hatches that separate the inside of Starliner from the orbiting laboratory: the Starliner hatch and the APAS hatch, and no 2 forward hatch on the station side. Following hatch closure, teams worked through steps to depressurize the vestibule, which is the area between the station hatch and Starliner hatch that were exposed to the vacuum of space prior to docking. Shortly after the go no go poll earlier today, where the joint teams here in the Starliner Mission Control and the International Space Station Mission Control polled go for undocking, NASA astronaut Sunny Williams called down to the flight control team on Space to Ground to share some words with the team before Starliner's departure later today. We'll go ahead and replay that exchange for you now.
Station Houston, Space to Ground 2 for Starliner undock status.
Go ahead, we're with you.
Hey, Sunny, both the Starliner and ISS flight control teams have pulled go for undock at this time. The expected undock time is 22:04.
Okay, copy, 2204. Hey, we're just looking at the flight control roster and wow, it is the all-star team. You guys, it is time to bring Calypso home. You have got this. We have your backs, and you've got this. Bring her back to Earth. Good luck.
Sunny and Butch, this is Chloe. Just on behalf of the entire MO team, I know the other flight control teams around the building, we thank you for your endless support over the years.
See, right now it's almost like, to me, they're saying their goodbyes at the same time of, giving the faith to the U.S., saying, hey, you got this, we got this. It's almost still like they're saying goodbye. They're saying, I remember our meetings, this was great. They don't know what's going to really happen, y'all. This is very scary, it's very risky, and it's extremely uncertain. There's no guarantee. So to keep people calm, they're not really coming out and admitting that these astronauts are stuck. They had to come out and admit what happened and why they were still out there. After July passed and then we entered into August, they had to admit that, hey, we gotta use other spacecraft to get our people, our astronauts, back to Earth. So they had to admit that. Now, prior, they just said, oh yeah, they gotta fix some stuff. Yeah, they said it as if they were going out in space to fix something of Boeing, which they could have been doing, right? Let's just say that's what they were doing. But their spacecraft started giving them issues. You can't leak helium. That's what they breathe. They need the helium in the tank in order to help them breathe. So once that's going, that's it. So now they're stuck in space and need to enter an additional piece of spacecraft. So I'll play a little more from the recording, and then we're going to look at some footage from the actual what do we have out there? Our telestations in space.
We've enjoyed every training event and every meeting. We remember every setback and every revelation with you. The teams on the ground have worked countless hours over the last few weeks, months, and for a group of us, years to bring Calypso back, and we're ready to do that today. We wish you the best of luck in your increment, and Sunny, I will make sure the right people have your coming home song ready to play on Space to Ground when it's time for you guys to come home. Good luck and thank you.
Wonderful comments, Flight. We appreciate that, and we agree. Many years of great enjoyment, simming together, playing together, and being involved with each other's lives, and it's been special. Bring it home.
Copy. Thank you and have a good evening.
We are now just over 13 minutes away from today's planned undocking. As we continue to approach that undocking, you can see the team here and the Starliner mission control team working in tandem with the ISS flight control room across the hallway.
Just before we came on the air here, the teams opened up the helium manifold to check Starliner's leak rate. Everything looks good. The teams say the rate remains steady, and we have plenty of margin for the rest of the flight. So let's talk a little bit about what is coming up. At around 5:02 p.m. Central, 6:02 Eastern, we are going to be listening for the authority to
over central China. Shortly after physical separation, Starliner's thrusters completed 2 short fire. And we just heard confirmation that Starliner is out of the approach ellipsoid. The approach ellipsoid is a imaginary 3-dimensional ellipsoid around the space station, and
We got it out, y'all.
outside of the approach ellipsoid have to be on what we call a 24-hour safe free drift trajectory, which means the spacecraft would not cross into the approach ellipsoid for at least 24 hours, even if it lost all maneuvering capabilities. Now that Starliner is outside of the approach ellipsoid, joint operations between the Starliner Mission Control and International Space Station Flight Control Room will conclude, and Starliner is now on a path back to Earth.
Wow.
So once again, Starliner undocked from the International Space Station at 5:04 p.m. Central, 6:04 p.m. Eastern, as the space station was flying 260 statute miles over central China. Shortly after physical separation, Starliner's thrusters completed 2 short firings to gradually increase the separation speed to help the spacecraft carefully move away from the orbiting laboratory.
Starliner then began the breakout burn, and Starliner's smaller jets performed a series of 12 short burns to allow the spacecraft to quickly move outside the approach ellipsoid. Starliner again crossed the approach ellipsoid.
So this is pretty amazing. So they are confirming that Starliner is now on its way back to Earth. This is very important. But the most important is getting those 2 humans back to Earth safely and alive. So the Starliner is on its way back. It is over China right now. And they're having it on its mission back to Earth because its mission failed to be able to keep the 2 astronauts alive in it and perform other tests and duties that they plan to do in space. In the meantime, amazingly enough, those astronauts still have been conducting many research, things like that they still were able to do while being basically stuck in space. So I have to give it to them. It's amazing. A lot of people wouldn't do a fraction of what's being done by these 2 astronauts.
Moments ago, and is now on its journey home. The next milestones for Starliner ahead of its deorbit burn targeted for 10:17 p.m. include closing the entry cover, and conducting checkouts of the OMAX, or the orbital maneuvering and attitude control thrusters. Those are the bigger jets on Starliner.
For now, let's check in one final time with NASA's Rob Navius following Starliner's exit from the approach ellipsoid.
Thank you, guys. Here in the Space Station Flight Control Room, Flight Director Anthony Varia and his team will be remaining on console throughout the course of the evening, keeping a watchful eye on things.
Space Ground 2 for Starliner status.
Go ahead.
Calypso has exited the approach ellipsoid. Sunny, we are ready for RWS teardown when you are.
Okay, she's on her way home. Congratulations to the Undock team.
Wow.
And we'll be tearing down the RW.
10 copies, thanks.
Spacecraft communicators here in the Station Flight Control Room talking to Sunny Williams, International Space Station. The Starliner is fixed trajectory, moving well away from the International Space Station for its deorbit burn at 10:17 and 13 seconds p.m. this evening. Once again, that'll be a 59-second burn of the 4 orbital maneuvering.
All right. So what basically they're confirming right now is that the Starliner spacecraft is on its way back to Earth. It is currently over China and is coming back without the astronauts because they can't safely make it back. But somehow they're able to get the spacecraft to come back, probably by basically remote control, to be honest. So they're still stuck out there. They had 2 options, 2 different spacecrafts that they could go into because they can no longer stay in this Boeing one. So they can go into a Boeing one that they can access with the same spacecraft spacesuits that they're wearing. but they went ahead and went into a different company of airspace spacecraft with it when they have to put on different suits in order to be able to survive in the other additional spacecraft that's made available out there. So bottom line, yes, I see you, Kelly, right? They Boeing has been failing and failing and failing. So it even failed our astronauts. They need to just go ahead and say it. Losing helium so you can't breathe and other things. Some of them they told us about, some they didn't even say. So this is like a huge failed trip. And those two humans are stuck out there just doing the best they can, staying in good spirits. Earlier, I played their voices, and they're giving just words of encouragement, saying, "Hey, you guys got this. With that spacecraft back down there, they're gonna continue to do their study and research while they are in space." Now they just announced that those two astronauts that were supposed to come back to Earth in July, they're not coming back till February 2025. So they're finished now. I'll just finish out the rest of the live stream
An attitude
via
control
NASA.
system jets on the Starliner spacecraft to slow Starliner down by 129.9 meters per second, allowing it to drop out of orbit to begin its descent back into the Earth's atmosphere, and a landing just about midnight Eastern time, 11 p.m. Central Time, give or take a few seconds, at the White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico. With that, the space station team will begin to turn its attention to the next major activity. That will be the launch out of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on Wednesday of NASA's Don Pettit and Roscosmos cosmonauts Alexei Ovchinin and Ivan Wagner on the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft that will increase the station's population from 9 to 12, and the beginning of a busy several weeks of crew rotations on the International Space Station, leading to the start of Expedition 72. So with that, we're going to call it a day here in the Space Station Flight Control Room, turn it back to you guys in the white Flight Control Room down the hall.
All right, thank you very much, Rob. Starliner is now on its way back home to Earth and has about a 6-hour journey ahead of landing. We are targeting again around 11 o'clock Central, midnight Eastern for that landing at White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico.
We will resume live coverage of Starliner's deorbit entry and landing beginning at 9:50 p.m. Central, 10:50 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thank you for joining us for Starliner's undocking and departure from the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston.
Houston, we got a problem. That's where we get that from. Wow, that's amazing. They said it's going to be back to Earth in 6 hours. You can't even get to places on Earth in 6 hours. There's a lot of places. So it's just amazing the speed. They even describe the speed, and a lot of some of those calculations are a bit over our heads, but extremely fast. So appreciate y'all tuning in. This is history in the making. This is a lot because they're still stuck in space. And how you tell people that stuck in space? Yeah, y'all not gonna be able to come back. We'll get y'all back in February. How's that? Like what? So from what I know, the longest period of time that I know of an astronaut being in space was over a year, but I believe just under 2 years in space. And they prepare them for an extended stay just in case, because there's no guarantee you can come back on time. So our best wishes to the American astronauts that are out there. Sometimes, you could be in a dark room and be scared. So they're way out in space, so you can just imagine. You can only imagine what they're going through. And they're so brave. Like, they don't want anyone to feel that they're fearful. You can tell by their voices and everything. I played that earlier in the stream. And that's what's been going on with NASA and the astronauts in space. Boeing is something else. Boeing has to be gone. And that's also why I mentioned, I'm going to show y'all something. This is a stock that you may be interested in getting into. It has to do with aerospace. And I'm going to show it to you guys right now. I mentioned it before, but I'm going to share screen so that you can see more information on this stock. Okay. The stock is right here. So I'm going to share screen. It's called Rocket Lab USA. Because as you see, Boeing keeps failing us, failing astronauts, failing humans left and right. So what I started looking into is new aerospace companies who are up and coming. Boeing is failing out with the old and with the new. This is a stock that I've been watching. It was up for a little over $6. It's dropped. You may say, well, it's dropping. It must not be that good. Stocks go up and down all the time. I still feel that this is a stock that's once it starts to go up, it's going to soar. And there's nothing but money to be made. You understand? You buy as many stocks as you want. You can start out with a few and just test the waters, whatever you want to do. And I do give information on, I have information on investing. Like I said, I want to start chiming in with some of that too, because economics is important. You're going to get stuff here that's going to enlighten you and elevate you and help keep money in your pocket, or out of your pocket, but in your savings, because I like to put it that way too. You want to be in a position in life where you have money, but you have money saved, money that you don't have to touch. With stocks and investing in your ETFs, you have money being made while you sleep, while you scratching your butt, while you digging in your nose. You're making money. You understand? It is not guaranteed, but with real estate is almost guaranteed. Basically, it's a guaranteed way of making money in your stocks. All right. So this is the one of the stocks that I really have my eye closely on. Okay. Nvidia is also a good stock. That's been up and down a lot. It's been dramatically up and down. Right now, Nvidia has been going down, down, down. And it's still a good time to buy. You have to realize that some stocks are just always going to be precious to have, because they won't really disappoint you. Any disappointment, they tend to get back up and back at it again. So we have that. I could show that too right here. Nvidia. So that's another one. That's a blue chip. It's a big boy type of stock, and it's good to get in it. It's good to get in it. Everyone has some kind of extra money, you know what I mean, to spend. Say you spend a lot of money in certain areas that you don't really have to. Go ahead and put some of that money into investing. When you invest, you're investing in yourself. You're investing to trust yourself to go ahead and put money in stocks and watch how they move. That's pretty much all to it. There are other terminologies that you can learn as you go. Dr. Boyce Watkins has a great channel on YouTube, even though he's moved away from a lot of financial talk and he's been gossiping about things a lot, but he still does have a focus on finances. Also, Richard Fain. And I know I'm on the right track because I chose Rocket Lab to watch on my watch list for stocks. And shortly after, like the following day, Richard Fain was talking about it. So that's just some inside information. I'm giving y'all free information over here that you can profit off of. So again, let me go back to the Rocket Lab screen. I didn't do that too correctly, but one more time. Rocket Lab is currently at $5.81 a share. This is just the beginning though, y'all. If you want to soar like the astronauts, but soaring without failure, soaring where you can make some money and get in early, I suggest this stock. Like I said, there's no guarantees. I'm making suggestions. Okay. So with all this going on in aerospace, that has to do with stocks. Whenever anything is going on in the world, it can affect stocks. If you want to keep up on information that affects stocks, go on the networks that have stock information. They are going to provide you with news as well, not just the stock info, but everything that has to do with that stock and other things that may have to do with the stock. Affiliates has to do with not just politics, but any type of news. It does affect stocks and stock prices. So I just wanted to say that in closing. Appreciate y'all for coming through. And hey there. Hey, birthday boy. I gotta get your birthday too, because I know I got you. Is Joe, is your do you have PayPal? If not, let me know if your Cash App is still the same. Let me see. I have it somewhere. Let me see. Where are we at? You have to go way back, huh? It's been so long. All right, well, I'm working on that. Okay, let me remove this now. So yeah, this is a good stock to have. All right, time to remove it. All right. He may be in and out. I know this boy is on live now. I know he said he's in the country. His reception goes in and out, so sometimes he'll come back and be like, "I'm back." I'll catch you if I don't catch you now, because I'm going to be closing out. Joe, read my message. If not, I'll catch him on the next time.
Six rendezvous, NASA and Boeing identified helium.
Okay, see, now they're explaining what happened on their first trip. Oh, you back? See, I just was saying that. I was like, sometimes he'll be like, "I'm back." Yeah, I was checking on your payment info. Yeah, just let me know the info. You know, I got my bro first B-Day now. All right, y'all. So that was just that about the All right, I'm gonna look it up. I should be able to find it. If not, I'll let you know. You can drop it in the chat or something. All right. Only my real peeps is allowed to do that in the chat. Put that info. You know, trolls and whoever be trying to come through like, yeah, people are crazy. All right, y'all. So that'll end it for me, and I got some business to take care of on Earth. So yeah, so the astronaut's still stuck in space. The aircraft is heading back to Earth. It'll be here in 5 to 6 hours. And we'll see what's going on, and any updates too. I will bring them on here for us to see and discuss. All right, y'all. Thanks. I'm out. This is KY007. Thanks. Peace. And all this was live. It just happened in real time while I showed y'all. So I'm just saying, this is part of my astros, y'all. Astronomy. We need to know what's going on, okay? All right, y'all. Peace.